Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Kelly Olson Stewart. I am the program chair of the PhD in Education and associate professor at the University of Arizona Global Campus. I am the host of today's session, Empowering Educators, Bridging Culturally Responsive, Relevant, and Sustaining Pedagogy into Practice. By joining us today, you acknowledge that this session is being recorded and will be shared with TLC-related materials. Microphones will be muted for this presentation, but we do encourage you to post questions and comments in the chat that we will address at the end. Also, we've enabled live transcription. If you would like to use that, click Show Captions, the Show Captions button at the bottom of your Zoom window. I am pleased and proud to introduce my former student and now has her degree, Dr. Erica Dallas. Dr. Dallas brings over 15 years of experience as a consultant and educator, contributing to the early education community through various roles. Her expertise in culturally responsive practices and DEIB, which you'll hear more about, is certified and widely recognized. She has received training from WestEd and Harvard Business School. Her work has been featured in various publications, including the Women's Journal. Her influence extends to public speaking, where she has presented at notable events such as the San Diego County Office of Education's Equity Conference and on numerous podcasts, and was part of the Toastmasters study. So, Dr. Dallas, happy to have you here. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Olson Stewart, for the introduction. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this presentation on empowering educators, bridging culturally responsive, relevant, and sustaining pedagogy into practice. Next slide. The rationale for researching culturally responsive, relevant, and sustaining pedagogy, which I call CRISP, CRRSP, is grounded in its potential to improve educational equity and inclusivity among BIPOC, marginalized, multicultural, and multilingual students. Next slide. The three research questions I focused on were: what challenges are educators facing when implementing CRISP, culturally responsive, relevant, and sustaining pedagogy? What are educators' experiences in implementing CRISP in preschool classrooms? And what professional development or training has educators received with regards to implementing CRISP in preschool classrooms? Next slide. The qualitative research method allowed me to collect non-numerical data from preschool educators based on their thoughts, views, practices, and experiences implementing CRISP. According to Yin, qualitative research increases the likelihood of understanding fundamental issues. Therefore, the qualitative method and the case study method was essential in my research. A case study research design was pivotal in collecting in-depth, multifaceted data on this phenomenon. Conducting interviews was also vital because I wanted to explore these real world experiences and get information on the experiences of educators and teachers in early childhood education, specifically focusing on preschool. Next slide. The theoretical frameworks in my studies highlighted culturally responsive pedagogy, culturally relevant teaching / pedagogy, and culturally sustaining pedagogy. Culturally responsive pedagogy was coined by Gloria Ladson Billings. Culturally relevant teaching pedagogy was coined by Geneva Gay. And culturally sustaining pedagogy was coined by Django Paris. My study also included three additional frameworks, these theories and frameworks that paved the way for each of the three you see here today. And they were Multicultural Education by James A. Banks, Vygotsky's Social Cultural Theory, and Critical Race Theory by Derek Bell, Kimberly Crenshaw, and Richard Delgado. Next slide. I wanted to enhance my study's credibility, validity, and reliability. Therefore, I chose a triangulation method using Zoom interviews, rating scales, surveys, and a pre-screening survey to ensure that the population sample was adequate for my research. I used two research designs, homogeneous sampling and snowball sampling. The sample population was educators in California working in preschool settings who had taught in preschool for at least a year and used some form of culturally responsive, or what they deemed as a form of culturally responsive, relevant, and sustaining pedagogy. The second snowball sampling. The participants actually referred other educators and teachers, and from that, I was able to gain all of the participants that I needed for my study. Data analysis, I use thematic analysis. This analysis helped me look at and organize these in-depth details, descriptions of the data that I collected. This approach also helped me explore educators' experiences, perspectives, and add more meaning to some of the specific technological ideas and specific topics that they were presenting to me as I collected the data. Next slide. The themes, there were four themes that emerged. The four themes that emerged from my study were identified as the importance and benefits of CRISP, challenges faced by educators, professional development and training, and strategies and practices. For the first theme, importance and benefits of CRISP, teachers believe that building connections with students and families help them understand each other and help them in supporting students' educational goals. Additionally, teachers believe that CRISP, culturally responsive, relevant, and sustaining pedagogy, was implemented. When it was implemented, students were excited to come to school and felt confident to share their stories and artifacts. The second theme, the challenges faced by the educators. Educators were challenged to keep their personal beliefs and biases out of the classroom. They struggled with biases and lack of awareness of cultures outside of their own. So some of the educators had a hard time implementing certain things in the classrooms because of their personal held beliefs. Educators also struggled with and felt discouraged when trying to support families who only spoke Spanish. They wanted the schools to fund English training and to give them additional support in Spanish, Tagalog, and Mandarin. So these educators felt they couldn't make connections with the families because they didn't speak the language. Also, educators were often told that additional resources to support culturally responsive teaching was not in the budget, resulting in educators spending their own money for materials and trainings. Lastly, in this category theme, educators perceived a negative impact in connection building with students, parents, and the homeschool connections because of the COVID pandemic. So before COVID, these educators felt they had a strong connection with their families. And then once the pandemic happened, they were forced to work from home. And so they felt like they weren't able to build these connections. The third thing, professional development. Educators felt they needed more institutional support in providing professional development. They also relied on Google as a supplement for professional development. So if they didn't receive this professional development and they didn't have the resources in the classroom, they just said, I Googled it. Also, educators had to research outside of their schools to find culturally responsive training and professional development opportunities because the school did not offer them or they were prohibited. So we had a lot of educators who specified that they tried to get training and their supervisors or superintendents told them that this wasn't something that they were promoting in the classrooms. And the educators shared that they were worried about the critical race theory and historical factors that may cause uproars within the classroom amongst the community and the teachers and the parents. Trainers and education coordinators did not follow up to ensure CRISP was being implemented correctly or if educators needed additional support. So these educators felt like they didn't have that support and that backing in implementation. All they received was professional development and they were told to go out and do it. And so they wanted to make sure that what they were doing was correct and that they were implementing it correct. And they also wanted more data and statistics on the likelihood of helping these students achieve their developmental goals. The last theme, strategies and practices. Strategies were narrow and not customized to actual students in the classrooms. So we had teachers who were implementing culturally responsive, relevant, and sustaining pedagogy, yet they were doing things like putting pictures up in the classrooms of different race, ethnicities, and cultures, but it didn't specifically represent the students in their classrooms. Or they were playing music in the background and not having the students engage and not having that dialogue and conversations. Educators also felt challenged to meet their students' needs because they did not have adequate time to plan and customize learning activities for all students. So we had a few educators express that when you have 22 students, it's hard to modify a lesson plan or to modify a curriculum to accommodate and differentiate for all 22 students in their classrooms. Next slide. The implication for theory and practice. So I discovered that CRISP is essential in building relationships through the classrooms and exposing educators to cultural relevancy. Also, educators need CRISP training and professional development to connect students' cultures to academic content, build relationships with students and their families, and strengthen social emotional development. Educators' professional development and training programs must be routine to help educators support students from various backgrounds. Educator biases can significantly impact the standards educators set for their students, the effectiveness of their lesson plans, excuse me, and their classroom management decisions. Precautionary measures must be in place to avoid such biases, such as educator pre-screening or anti-bias training. Training English-only educators on common phrases in other languages could possibly help them connect to families they serve and build connections among students, families, and community. And lastly, consistent training, professional development, and accountability measures for educators is essential to ensure CRISP is implemented correctly. Next slide. In conclusion, the contributions to the field were improve structural strategies for educators. So CRISP may provide educators with new evidence-based strategies and tools that enhances their teaching effectiveness, allowing them to support diverse learning needs and foster inclusive classrooms. Enhance student engagement and learning outcomes. For students, CRISP implementation could lead to a more engaging and relevant learning experience, promoting more profound understanding and increased motivation and improve academic performance among students. Professional development and support for educators. CRISP could possibly contribute by offering structured professional development, helping educators build confidence in using these innovative methods, and providing ongoing support as they adapt to new practices. And lastly, promotion of collaboration, learning, and environment. CRISP could foster a more collaborative and interactive classroom culture, encouraging both educators and students to engage in shared learning experiences, which can enhance peer-to-peer learning, critical thinking, and communication skills. Next slide. And now I'm opening it up to questions and answers. And thank you all for attending.
Thank you, Dr. Dallas. A shout out to you in the chat from a career ESL teacher, just loving everything about this study. Can
Thank
you
you.
can you talk to us, a question I wanted to ask if the participants mentioned how they managed the cultural diversity in their classroom while implementing this strategy?
How they managed the cultural diversity in the classroom when they implemented their, that's an area that they struggled. They struggled due to the amount of students that they had. And again, these practices were very narrow. They were doing the bare minimum because of the lack of professional development and training that they received. So they didn't have a clear idea of what it was, what it looked like, and how to implement and differentiate that instruction for all students. So they weren't really clear and able to justify what culturally responsive, relevant, and sustaining pedagogy was. That's what I found in my study.
Great, thank you. One of the challenges in early childhood collectively is the turnover rate, the continual
Yeah.
revolving door of early childhood practitioners. What advice would you give a director or a leader of a preschool or early childhood center that would sort of dovetail with what your research has found as well?
I would say that educators coming into the field, they need that. Of course, they're coming in directly from college or universities, but I feel like you have to generalize and master this content so you can read books, you can get this education, but can you apply it? Can you show me what that looks like? So they need support in that area. So I think that professional development and training and then follow-up support, having them have a mentor that watches them for their first year, that helps them adapt to different things in the classrooms, that answers their questions, gives them that moral support. And when they're stressed out or when they don't understand something, or giving them some new ideas and innovative ideas, because we don't have all, as educators, we don't have all the answers and people think we do. So having that support and having that solid foundation of support and professional development and training is essential in their first year. And so as they progress, making sure that the professional development training certificates are updated. And also the education coordinators and trainings going into the classrooms and saying, let me view how you're doing this. Let me see your work ethics. Let me see your practices. Let me see how you're handling the behaviors in the classrooms. And teachers having that open heart to say, I'm willing to accept the critique that you give me because it's going to help me grow in my practice. So I think the first few years of a new teacher is essential and important to make sure that they have a support system.
That's a great response. And having lived in this space of teacher retention for a while with research, the mentoring component is huge and can really be transformative to a teacher's practice.
True.
One comment in the chat. Oh, from experience, much of the PD oftentimes is surface based. So you get stereotypes or surface culture and does not dive deeply into how to help students with language transition and culturally responsive teaching. Curious about your thoughts there.
It's true. It's very true. Again, we have a lot of things in education that's very what I call scripted. And so we have a lot of educators that follow a script. They do what's exactly in this professional development and training. And as I said before, that's where these mentors and coaches and people who have been in the field for a long time come in to ensure that even though you have this script, how can you differentiate this instruction? How can you apply it to each individual student? So of course it's going to exist because that's how we learn and develop, but then you develop new ideas and new ways of being your authentic self and teacher and educator in the classroom. So I would say that even though you have this training and you go into universities and colleges, you have to modify some of these things that you're reading and that you're receiving to fit each year, because our students change as they come into the classroom. Cultures, I believe that there are cultures and subcultures. And so we have these ideologies and, again, stigmatisms that we say all African American people are the same. That's not true. We do have some cultures that identify and are the same, but then we have subcultures. And so we have to really educate our educators in saying that you cannot place these labels, even though you receive these trainings on it. You can't place these labels on students, families, and community. Get to know them. Take your time, ask questions, spend time with them, have them come into the classrooms and share things about their culture with you. Don't assume anything. Build the relationships.
Thank you. Another question, do you think it's better to connect children to their home culture or the culture of the community they are currently located? So, for example, a Spanish kiddo that resides in the United States.
So I believe in sustaining culture. Who you are makes up the beauty of you. We don't want to demean, demoralize, or remove anything about a person. In this world, we want to add to it. In the classroom, in the world of the classroom, we want to add to the beauty of who these students are. So I would say that them sustaining their own cultures and adding a subculture is essential. So you grow and you meet new people and you have new ideas and you say, I like that idea. I'm going to add that to my subculture, but I'm going to sustain who I am. I'm going to keep who I am. So I think it's essential to keep your culture and to also add to that pot of the subculture.
Awesome. Thank you. Just a final question that I'm curious about. Dr. Dallas, how has this experience of completing a study sort of shaped or changed you, your life, your professional trajectory? Talk to us about that.
Wow, that's a question. So this journey, I'm the first person in my family to earn my PhD. I'm an African American woman. I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, and I throughout my life have had some situations that were hard for me, and most of that revolved around my race, ethnicity, and my culture. And so in this study, I had to really find ways to ground myself. I had to find my reason behind why I was doing this study. And also, once I completed the study, I had to say, now, how are you going to share this with the world? How are you going to serve the world? So, this study really changed me interpersonally. It helped me identify some of my areas of trauma. It also helped me let go of some of that trauma to strengthen other educators in the field who may be experiencing this and it may be impacting them in the classrooms. So it shaped me in tremendous ways, 100% of who I am to this day and who I will be.
Fills my heart. One additional comment. The best thing I did as a teacher was to have parent ESL courses in the evenings. I was able to bond with and learn about families instead of thinking of it just as a cultural group. I honored their culture group, but wanted to know the nuances of their family while also bridging cultures.
Beautiful. I'm going to tell you just a brief story. So when I came into a new classroom and as an educator, I the classroom was Spanish only, and I didn't know any Spanish, and I was scared. I was like, "What am I going to do? How am I going to connect with families?" And one of the parents came over and said, "Erica, I can teach you Spanish." And I'm like, "You'll teach me Spanish?" So every Wednesday at 4:30, this parent brought all of her kids. She had 3 children. She brought them all in and she taught me Spanish. And I built this lasting relationship and connection with her. And from that, other parents started connecting with me. And after a while, I was like, wait a minute, I'm speaking Spanish. What? What? I didn't even realize it because it flowed so naturally. I was able to communicate with my parents, and still to this day, 8 years later, they're still wonderful parents, still friends. I still see them, I still communicate with them, and they brought their other children to our program. So it really helps and it builds lasting relationships and connections. I truly agree with that. And I suggest that if you have this barrier or this notion in your head where I'm not going to learn that, I don't want to learn that, you can do it. Take your time. If you want to reach and teach these children or children who may not necessarily identify with who you are and speak your language, you have to learn to adapt your practices and your thought process and go for it. Go for it. This is our future. It's your future.
Love your passion. So great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Dallas. As we're wrapping our time up, I have put the link to the survey in the chat to nominate TLC presentations for Conference Award and share your feedback on this presentation. Dr. Dallas, so appreciate you, your passion and enthusiasm for your topic. Some shout outs to you in the chat,
Thank
wanting to teach
you.
with you, all of the things. So thank you all for being here, and we'll look forward to seeing you at our next sessions.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye, Dr. Dallas. Thank you.